The session you guys are about to hear is pretty good. I'm really excited about introducing our speaker in this session. For those that I haven't met, my name is Alan Davidoff. I'm the Senior Vice President and our Energy Lead here at Environics Analytics. And I have the absolute pleasure to introduce Jonathan Benallack, who's the Senior Manager, Business Operations at ATCO Energy. Jonathan has been working in utilities since 2008, working primarily in the retail energy sector. Jonathan's career has focused on data analytics, business operations, processes, online UX, and other customer experiences. Super knowledgeable, a great guy. Had the pleasure of working with him over the last couple of years, and his presentation's phenomenal. I think you guys will all learn something. So please give it up for Jonathan.
Thanks, Alan. Thanks very much, Alan. So today, I want to chat with you guys a little bit about our journey. First piece that I want to talk about here, I want to talk just about what ATCO Energy is, for those of you who don't know. So in 2016, ATCO recognized the need for a different kind of energy company in Alberta's deregulated energy market, giving customers the freedom to choose a plan that works for them, for their home and for their business. ATCO Energy is now one of Alberta's largest homegrown energy retailers, offering flexible electricity and natural gas plans, as well as a wide range of home services and home protection plans, all in one place. So in Alberta, we're just a little bit different than a lot of the rest of Canada when it comes to how the utilities work. We stand apart in the way that we have a deregulated market. So rather than relying solely on traditional government-regulated utilities, we embrace a deregulated model where competition and consumer choice plays a central role. This marketplace has evolved over several decades, reshaping how energy is generated, how it's delivered, and how it's sold. So first we have generation, where private companies compete to generate electricity using various sources such as natural gas, wind, and solar. These generators offer power for sale in a wholesale market where the prices are set by supply and demand. Then we have our transmission and distribution. These remain regulated natural monopolies. Local distribution companies, like we have ATCO Electric and we have ATCO Gas, as well as ATCO Energy. They maintain and operate the wires and infrastructure, but the rates and practices for those specific utilities are overseen by the Alberta Utilities Commission. Then we have retailers, and that's what ATCO Energy, that's where we sit. So consumers can choose electricity and natural gas retailers from a competitive market. The retailers buy energy on the wholesale market and then sell it to the end users, offering a variety of different contracts and pricing options. And that really gives us the customer choice. So the customer can choose any retailer in Alberta that's allowed to operate, and the quality and reliability of their service is unaffected. So you're basically looking for someone to bill you for these services, but then we have the partners in the distribution and transmission area that are responsible for actually pushing the power across to your home. So today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the journey that we've been undertaking for the last couple of years, and we're trying to understand, evaluate, and utilize all of the customer data that we have. At the beginning of our journey, we asked probably a fairly common question that a lot of you have asked yourselves: what data do we have? And we've heard quite a bit today about first-party data and what that is. So that ranges from customer details, billing and payment records, communication preferences, and retail information like contract details and costs. This data helps us understand a bit about who the customers are and how they interact with us, and how they prefer to pay their bill, how they would like to be communicated with. The next thing that we started looking at was data freshness. So outdated data is misleading. And we need to make sure we understand how old the data that we're looking at is, how often it's refreshed, has it been overwritten, has it been tooled, has somebody come in and made changes to that data, made corrections to it after inception. We're also looking at access. So I get the sense of a lot of people from some of the questions and some of the conversations I've had today that a lot of people still rely on one-off reports. We have a question today, so let's get a report request in, let's generate that report, use it once, and then throw it away. Not necessarily the best uses of resources and time. So we're going to look towards things like Power BI portals, making sure that we connect the portal reporting interface directly to the data set so that it can not only be used that first time to answer those first questions, but then provide consistent value, and most importantly, be able to be used over and over again to recognize patterns in the data. From all of this information, we measure our business performance, the customer behavior, profitability, but we have to avoid pretty significant pitfalls like false causality and sampling bias. Nothing worse than thinking that you understand a problem after you look at the data, realizing you've left out an entire customer segment from the analysis, and then now you have to not only start again, but you have to squash the bug that you created when you gave the inappropriate or incorrect analysis. Human beings remember things really well. So we hear something the first time, and it sits there and it sticks in our head, and then after that, a lot of the other information that we receive either is contrast against that initial information or discarded as irrelevant because it goes against something that you already believe to be true. This is very dangerous, and I think a lot of people in this audience have probably encountered that through your day-to-day. So, now we come to the part that I am most excited to talk about and least proud to talk about. But that is kind of where did we start and what were we looking at. So as businesses grow, and again, familiar probably to many of you in this room, you wind up with a constellation of systems and data points. And so constellation sounds really nice, but it's actually really hard to deal with here. Each one of these systems or platforms gets brought in, and it's usually brought in to solve a specific problem, one problem. And it doesn't necessarily line up with the rest of all the solutions that you've already implemented. It might not connect directly to your database. Or it just pushes information one way, and the source system never gets any reconciliation back. It can be very dangerous in this case, because once these systems become siloed, you're basically unable to effectively share or synchronize data with each system or each department, depending on where your silos exist. The fallout from the system isolation is both immediate and far-reaching. So when these systems fail to communicate, employees are forced into the tedious and error-prone task of manual reconciliation. The information can be cross-checked, it can be corrected, there can be mistakes in the corrections, this can cause further exacerbation of the original problem. Or you have to correct it here, and now we'll go and correct it here, and now we'll go and correct it here. So now you're having someone sit there and just do data entry to do a correction in multiple systems. It's not very exciting work, and generally speaking, people may be more error prone when they're doing something a little bit monotonous. They're listening to music, they're trying to just get through their day. This is when larger accidents can happen, and now your reconciliation has wound up causing more problems than it's solved. A lot of modern organizations rely on data-driven insights to shape their strategy and allocate resources, monitor their performance, but the analytics are only as good as the data that you have. So if you have a bunch of systems that are disconnected and they're not speaking to each other, and you pull a report out of a single system, it might not actually be telling you the truth. And now you've gone again and you've created that problem where you've made an assumption, you've given analysis, people have that locked into their mind, and now it's going to be hard for you not only to walk it back, but to give them the correction and have them accept it. One of the biggest, most critical items, I think, are the disconnected systems are fertile ground for operational errors. So for many companies responsible for essential services, for example, like heating and powering homes and businesses, these mistakes can have real-world consequences. Fulfillment errors may result in customers not receiving necessary services, financial discrepancies can lead to regulatory compliance issues, and you can strain supplier relationships really easily. In regulated industries where the stakes are high, fragmented data may make it difficult to demonstrate accountability and transparency. So the ability to unify the systems is not just a technical hurdle, it's a foundational requirement for business success. Many organizations are now investing in cloud-based platforms, data warehouses, integration solutions that are designed to break down those silos and foster seamless communication. This journey not only requires a technological investment, but a cultural commitment to viewing data as a shared asset rather than a collection of isolated data points. Ultimately, overcoming the system and data isolation is about more than efficiency. It's about building a resilient, intelligent organization that's prepared for challenges and responsibilities in the modern world. So, what did we do? So to address these challenges, and I'm sorry, it's really hot and it's really humid in Toronto. I'm from Alberta. I was not prepared for it to be this wet when I got here. So I'm a little nervous, but I'm mostly it's just the humidity, folks. So to address these challenges, we invested in better system integration and better data governance, and we want to operate more efficiently to make smarter data-driven decisions and adapt more quickly to change. So we chose the Azure Lakehouse. This gives us the strength of data lakes and data warehouses in a single unified platform. We can now keep our raw and unfiltered data with our structured data, which makes things a lot easier. The architecture supports a whole different range of wide applications, BI dashboards, machine learning, prep for AI. We also can now look at all of our data in one spot, so no more going to 15 different places to pull the data. We can go to one place, we can extract the data, all of it that we need in one shot, and significantly cut down on the internal bureaucracy just to get the information. One of the problems that we might have here is the raw data can be really messy. So a critical part of our design was in the data staging. This is where issues like missing values, inconsistencies, and duplicate reports are resolved. So we utilized a medallion environment setup, and this preparation ensures that any analytics or insights that we produce based on this data are trustworthy and accurate. Ultimately, the Lakehouse is designed to enhance our data quality and governance and adapts with us as our business and data evolves. One of the biggest benefits that we get out of this is the scalability. So it will grow with us as we grow, which is really important here because you don't want to have something that works, get really dependent on it, add 150, 300,000, 1 million new customers to your portfolio, and now this thing can't handle the amount of data that you're throwing at it. So it needs to be scalable. The unified architecture, like I mentioned, enables the powerful analytics and unlocks new opportunities for machine learning and artificial intelligence. Anybody who's been having those meetings with your leadership teams where you're talking about AI, and they know what they know about it. And I think what people in this room know is the data has to be clean. AI is not going to clean your data for you out of the box. Most critically, you have to ensure that the information that you're giving to AI prevents it from making correlations and connections that actually aren't real. So in order to do that, you need to make sure that you have the ability to stage your environment really, really well. That's part of the reason that we chose this specific solution. So now we know what the data tells us about our customers, but the picture is not complete. We need more information. So we have all of that first-party data. Humidity. We have all of the first-party data, and now we need to think outside of just that. That diagram we saw first thing this morning with the 3 circles, excellent. Perfect way to encapsulate exactly what we're going to talk about in the next couple of minutes here. So there's other gaps that we have. We know all this great stuff about our customers based off our contract information. But knowing that you pay your bill with a Visa doesn't help me to understand if you would prefer chicken or fish. It doesn't help me to understand if you would prefer to have a call first thing in the morning or later in the evening. There's a lot of things that we don't understand about our customers that's vital to actually making them more than just a number. And I think, again, everybody here can reconcile with the fact, as both a customer, as a member of a business, we don't want to just be treated the same as everybody else. We are different individuals, we have different value systems, and it's critical here that we start identifying ways to be able to speak to each other in that way. So what about the rest of the market, people that aren't our customers yet? I don't know anything about them. So it's going to be really hard for me to create new products and services if I haven't figured out a way to identify who I'm going to be talking to. In order to effectively serve our customers, we must first understand what we know and then focus on what's missing. So beyond that market research, we have to consider the external factors and influence that our customers have, such as economic trends that impact their bottom line, technology changes affecting the way that they want to communicate with us or they would like us to communicate with them, and evolving customer values and perceptions. And that last one is really important because the world is changing so rapidly. We're changing rapidly. Every day you get new information that you might not have been exposed to before. And without starting to understand exactly how everybody is thinking about things, it's going to get really difficult for us to be able to provide great customer service and enhanced products. We need to do data-driven research. So we need things like surveys, analytics, industry reports, census data, so that we can identify and address these gaps, ensuring that we stay ahead of the customer's needs and the market shifts. This approach helps us build strategies that are relevant, adaptable, and truly customer-centric. So how do we get all of this data? We're a utility company. We have a limited amount of resources. We have a limited amount of reach. How many people in here call up their utility company and say, hey, like, what's going on, guys? You guys having a good time? No, we don't think about utilities until the lights go off, or until the heat doesn't kick in, or until your AC is on the bunk. So we have to do something. We have to partner with a group here that's going to help us get all of that information. We offer the energy plans that heat and power people's homes, but we also connect customers with home services ranging from furnace tune-ups to solar installations. Again, this is where values come into play, and it's critically important that we identify that you can't treat everybody the same. You have to have that segmentation. So, coincidentally, this is where our partnership with Environics comes into the conversation. I hope that was clear on that build-up, the way that I was doing that for you guys. So understanding our customers is really important, but we have to really start understanding what we don't know as well. So we're going to look towards some of the subscription products that we currently have with our Environics team. We're still early in our journey in taking this information and combining it with our data sets, but we have a good plan. We have a good idea of where we'd like to go, and we have a good idea of what information we don't have at our fingertips right this very moment. Some of that information, like demographics, is really relevant to our business strategy. So enabling a proper business plan requires that you know who you're going to be marketing to. Household spend is really helpful here in understanding where consumers spend their money, and that helps us enhance our products and our value proposition. So really important here, because we're not just a utility company, because we also like to come in and we'll help tune up your furnace or install things in your home that are energy smart, get those solar panels on your roof. It's really important here that we know how Canadians feel about value. When we go and look at some of the demographics that we've seen, and then we compare it against some of the spend that we see, we also understand that there's a wide variety of economic factors that really influence people's decisions, and that's where this information becomes really prominent. We'll also look at things like polling and survey data to understand insights on how Canadians are feeling, social values for the customer's actual values and trends that change over time. Movers, very important for us. Generally speaking, you change your utility in Alberta mostly at the time you would have a move. It's something that comes hand in hand. You're going to have to call and say, hey, I'm ending my service here on this day. And then that's the potential there to say, hey, what offers do you have in market? Time to shop around. So the movers is really important to us. For those of you who caught the last presentation in the main room, new to Canada, the immigration trends are massively important here, because we know how to do things based off of how we've done things in the last couple of years, but as more and more people become Canadians, we have to make sure that we understand what's important to them. Things that they value may be slightly different than things that we believe are the core value system. And most importantly, we have to be able to speak to them in a way that resonates with them. So we have to understand exactly where they're coming from and what their value system is, so that we know how to reach out to them and talk to them in a meaningful way. And then finally, business data is always harder to come by. I think everybody in this room, again, you probably are much aware. You probably were told before you came to the conference, don't show this slide, take that graph off of there. You guys can't say this. Who else is going to be there? What kind of competitors? And I think we have a few. Hey, guys. But data axle business data for insights into business behaviors, again, critical for our success. Okay, so I'm not going to go into deep length. I think everybody here has got your little handout that was really cool that I'm going to make sure I take back and put up on the bulletin board in the office when I get back to Calgary. What I do think is really important here is to just underline some of the things that we believe are really important. So discovering more about who we're serving today, finding new opportunities for growth, leveraging the important information that we have to enhance our customer service and marketing, and then utilizing this to build out future energy products and home services. With our existing customer base, we want to be able to know people beyond their account number. And I know that's cliche, and I know that you've probably heard that in a bunch of presentations. But this is a really good time for us to call for unity. And so knowing each other means understanding each other, means getting along with each other. So I think it's really important that we do things like that with our customer service. And then, of course, leveraging segmentation to provide enhancements for our overall business strategy, providing superior customer service products. And the world's ever changing, so we got to keep up with it. Okay, so connecting the dots and kind of getting to the end of this. What's on the next few slides here, we didn't have enough time to kind of bring it together for you folks. So I'll just kind of synopsis it for you. Analysis and AI, it's on the forefront. I know everybody in here has heard it probably 35 times in the last month, but it's not going to go anywhere. We need to be ready for it. Having great analysis, good analysts who understand the business, understand the problems, means giving them as many tools as possible to really be able to push forward. We also need regular checkpoints. The work is not done. So you finish the project, everybody's happy, everybody high fives. That doesn't mean we're done. That means that we're done this phase. The next phase is right behind that, and we have to constantly push forward. There will be data refreshes, and we're going to continue to push forward in the Alberta marketplace with our partners at Environics. Some of the pieces that we're going to focus on next are our integration points. So making sure that we understand where we're going to fill in the blanks with the Environics data that we have, making sure that we put that directly into our data set as much as possible and utilize that information. Automated loads is going to help a lot. So there's some great tools coming out through a variety of different suites that help you to move your data from its source into the data lakehouse. And then making sure that our output is not those pesky one-off reports. Again, not a big fan. I used to be a reporting analyst. I don't like doing the one-off reports and then seeing them in the trash at the end of the meeting. So we want to make sure that Power BI is part of that for sure. And then we're going to look at some pattern recognition, make sure that our effort is matching our output. So we're going to do some analysis within that. We're going to combine the data sets, as I mentioned, and then realize the benefits of this piece. Kind of to close us out here, let's just remember collecting the data. Again, that's the first step. Real value comes from what we do next. That's analysis, adopting AI, figuring out how that's all going to piece together. And then keeping our data up to date is crucial. Time refreshes and integrating new information sources allow us to make smarter decisions and stay responsive in the market. Alberta's unique deregulated marketplace gives us room to test ideas, to learn quickly, and collaborate across the industry. By embracing the analysis, AI, and experimentation, we don't just want to adapt to the change, we want to lead it. Thanks very much, folks.
It's a little hot. We have some time for questions. I see one. It's popped up in the center. Do we have a mic? Sorry, gentleman over there.
Sorry about the humidity. Just a quick question for you. In terms of the lakehouse setup, do you have that integrated with the Environics data, or is that being dynamically updated, or is that a static thing, and how often?
So right now we have it on the roadmap, and what we have planned, the initial plan was, because everything at the beginning was flat files that we were going to absorb, drop in somewhere, pick up the flat files, scrape them, and dump them in. We do want to look at automation. So we do want to look at some possibilities to see if there's API controls to allow us to ingest that. Because of the nature of all of these siloed systems, we're kind of ready to do whichever one we can get to the quickest, but it, again, doesn't mean that that's where we're going to stop. We're always going to look for more efficiency and automated loading of the information, and we'll see where the future comes. Maybe I'll be back in a couple of years and have a much more coherent answer for you.
There's another question.
Yeah. Hi. So I think when we think about applying Environics data, when we're trying to convince customers to buy something, I think that is something that is more palatable and easy to understand. But you specifically said you use it to apply when it comes to home service offerings. So I guess when you're going to customers' homes to repair something, like it's a cost to the business. And so can you elaborate on how you've kind of applied Environics insights to that area of your business, like when we are going to customers' homes and we're not asking them to buy something. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. So just to clarify, so the home services, we are selling things too. So you could buy a new furnace, you could buy solar panels and a lot of that as well. But understanding at a higher level more what the customer is expecting from us in terms of value proposition does help us to develop our pricing strategy. So you can always look at what other people in the market are charging for a furnace tune-up. But we want to be able to go above and beyond that. So we want to not only just come in and tune up the furnace, we want to offer you other products that are going to help accentuate that. So as an example, if you have a smart thermostat in your home, that's a great place to start learning about home energy. But if you haven't had your furnace tuned up in 20 years, you're running analytics off of your smart thermostat on a furnace that's not in shape here at all. So understanding through the Environics data kind of where people's ability to understand not only the smart home, but like the utility appliances in their house, things that they're interested in, is a really big boon for us. We would be in a position in a couple of years here to be able to look at a customer and really suggest, hey, so you have this and this from us, we have these other products, and it really seems like these would match really well with what you're looking for.
Do you use data from outside of Alberta for any of your insights and analysis?
We are centralized just inside Alberta. Okay. So we're not looking outside of the province at this time. Now that said, it is important for us to understand a little bit about who's moving in from Alberta. Again, in that previous presentation, we saw that Alberta is one of the most immigrated within Canada destinations. So it is important to a degree that we understand who's coming in and where they're coming from. I think that that's an excellent next step for us, is to maybe expand our focus a little bit and understand those groups in different areas of Canada a little bit better, so that when they are moving in, we make sure that we're matching both their value system and their cost of the understanding of how they like to see costs come through. But at this time, it's still fairly early.
And I assume that for some of the customers who are outside of Alberta, because the business environment is so different, for example, like they might not have customer choice and they might not have those mover segments that you look at in Alberta. They might have limited value. Okay.
Yeah, so just to pin on that just a little bit, what it mostly, when you call to get connected, we hear a lot in Alberta, hey, I need to set up my hydro. We don't have hydro in Alberta. There's no water. There's water, but it's not connected to anything, right? But the irony there is that if you come in and you say something like that and the rep hears that, that's a really good trigger for our reps to go, this person's probably new to Alberta. So they generally will follow up with, where are you moving from? Are you moving into Alberta? And that gives us an opportunity to not only educate the customer, but to make sure that they are aware that they do have choice, that they can shop around and find different retailers. Of course, you don't want a business to always say like, hey, did you know we have all these competitors? But in order to make a level and fair playing field, it is something that's required. So on a lot of the communications, marketing pieces, when you call in and hear, you're going to hear what we call the fair competition statement. And it lets the customer know you can go with anybody and the quality and reliability of your power is not changed.
Yeah. We have another question there.
Earlier, you had mentioned something about looking at a data lake provider that would be scalable. Are there certain things that you had, I guess, considered as part of your checklist when you were looking into that or thinking about that?
For sure. So just to be clear, we went with the Microsoft Azure solution. So we're on the Azure Lakehouse right now. One of the first things in our requirements document when we started out with our RFP was, how scalable is your technology? How big can it go? A lot of them just say, oh, it's infinitely scalable. But we wanted to see some proof to the pudding. And again, the partners that we had at Microsoft did a great job of doing that, bringing in information. And we worked very closely with our IT and our project management office to make sure that we were making a great decision. I think the other thing is there's a lot of appetite here to say, well, we buy a lot of Microsoft products. And so we know this will work out of the box with a lot of what we have. We also integrated some layers in there with Databricks. So we have some Databricks endpoints that give us a lot more flexibility, and they integrated really well with the Microsoft framework. Perfect. Any other questions? Anybody have like a fan? Anything? No? Okay. Thanks so much, folks.
Thank you so much, Jonathan.
Cheers.
Really appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.